Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the Great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. I'm Chris of the Northwest, and we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the world. So while you're trying to remember if you even made resolutions last year, we'll be caching in the Northwest. Now, tonight, well, number one, I don't have any other co-hosts with me. I just have one of the best guests in geocaching podcast history with me, and that's Merlin1392.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Good evening.
Do you not know that?
No, that was news to me. I thought there was somebody else you were going to bring in a minute.
Nope, you're it. And we're going to talk about scuba caching. And as always, live audience, we want you to ask questions, share your thoughts with us. But before we get into that, there's a quick reminder that we want to appreciate the support of our patrons who help keep this podcasting coming each and every week. Thanks to Landsharks, and they are one of our corporate Denali level. There we go. There's their logo. They're one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. Now, they still have that holiday tag promo going on. So every $25 you spend, you're going to get a free trackable from geocaching.com or the same geocaching.com trackable. That's done everywhere. You're going to get it right there at the Landshark store. So go spend your money, get that free trackable because it's really worth it. You can check it all out at Landsharks. That's LANDSHARKZ.ca. And of course, we can't go on without mentioning our other Denali level sponsor. That's Gold Country Geotourism. Now, folks, if you want to go learn about the Gold Country region, there's no better place than explore goldcountry.com and learn more about the geotours. There's 2 of them now, and that region. And there are plenty of communities to explore with us this winter. To view what's happening in the Gold Country area, go visit online or go use their app. Their app is great. Either way, go look at that calendar, see what's happening in Gold Country this year. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click that Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. Well, we also have a glow. Do you know what a glow is? Well, thank you for asking.
Sorry?
A glow. Hey, see, I told you were a great guest. Yeah. The glow is the geocaching log of the week. Now, whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. You can send an email or a recording. You know, those smartphones do fascinating things now. And email that to feedback@cachingnw.com. You can call into 253-693-TFTC and show us just how you glow. Now, this glow came from VB Hunter when he found the WSGA 20 SC, that's Southwest chapter, or South Central chapter, sorry, 05. Now, Tim, I don't know if you know, but the WSGA has their 20th anniversary this year. 20 years of being a geocaching association. So what we decided to do was put out 20 physical caches in each one of our 7 chapters. So there's 140 new caches out in the state of Washington to go out and find.
And that's amazing.
You find 3 of those chapters, you get a coin.
Ooh.
You find all 7, I believe, you get another coin.
Okay.
So.
No, that's great. I do know the WSGA. I'm a member of WSGA, and I can't wait to hear about some of those caches because it's a little bit far away for me to get to, but someday maybe. Someday.
Well, let me tell you about this one particular cache, number 5 in South Central. That's around the Tri-Cities.
Okay.
VB Hunter starts off with, today I was able to spend some quality time grabbing caches that I wanted on my way back to the Tri-Cities from Idaho, especially the 7 of the 20 new WSGA Geo Tour caches that happened to be on my route home. This is definitely one I had the hardest time with overall. By now, I've been dealing with somewhat shoddy reception, but this is the home stretch. First, I pulled off on a large pullout on the west side of the road and began looking. But it was a few hundred feet away, so I thought it must be up the dirt road on the other side of the highway. So I backtracked down there, scraping bumper as I left the pavement and headed to where I believed ground zero was. Especially since there was another car there, and they were all out getting these today, right? Wrong. I pulled up next to the car and met eyes with 2 gentlemen who did not look happy to see me there. I will admit, fear threw my car into reverse and I got out of there quick, thinking I may have to abandon this one for the day. Back on the highway south, I accidentally passed up the cache by about 200 feet. Ran back and began searching this new area. The spot scared me, and I'm not afraid of heights. My cords were bouncing all over, and my thoughts bouncing to me falling off the cliff out there alone with my kids in the van waiting. Somehow it seemed shrouded in a shrub. Happy to find this 5th of 7 to get the heck out of this canyon for the day. And I can say, I found that exact cache. Now, I didn't see the people on the side road, but it's, the coordinates get you somewhat near a quite a drop off there by the river. It's a beautiful view, but, don't get too close to the edge. And I had absolutely zero cell reception out there. So,
oh my, that's what offline maps are for.
Exactly. So, tonight, we have brought Merlin1392 on to talk about scuba caching. And if you want to add to tonight's topic, and I know you do, use the hashtag SCUBA. That's SCUBA. And should we give bonus points for the first one that tells us what the SCUBA acronym actually stands for?
Oh, sure. Let's go for that.
Yeah, let's do that. Just in case you didn't know that SCUBA was an acronym, it is. Now, of course, you can use the hashtag FATAS to bring up anything you want to talk about. Maybe not scuba related, but we want to talk about it in the after show. And we're going to use our new hashtag tonight, podcast drinking, to let us know what you're sipping tonight. Well, hopefully sipping, right?
Could be. I'm sipping with my Guy Harvey mug.
Ooh, who's Guy Harvey?
Guy Harvey is a famous, or maybe not so famous, artist, and he's done some great work. So I have a great big lobster with a dive flag, filled with my favorite libation for the evening, which is H2O.
Woohoo! Hey, twinsies! I'm drinking out of a Seahawks.
All right.
Cup, same idea, water.
And my buddy GSM times 2 has come up with the right.
Oh, he says it's a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. I don't know. I kind of like Cash the Lines. It's a subcutaneous underbelly action.
Oh, that could be too.
Yeah. IHAM also got it right. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
All right. Well, now that we know what it is, then we'll have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we talk about an upcoming event first?
Well, I do. I want to mention an upcoming event. Wino Seattle is having an event at the border this Saturday called Peace Out 2022. Now, it's a CCE. That's a community celebration event. And this is going to be one of the last chances for you to get out there and get a community celebration event if you haven't gotten one yet, or, get another one under your belt because they're going away soon.
Yeah, they're going away Saturday night.
You know what? Is it Saturday or is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. Sorry. It's Friday. It's tomorrow.
Friday,
now, this one is at Peace Arch Park. That is the park between the borders of the United States and Canada, right there on I-5. Well, close to I-5, right? Yes, it is tomorrow. Sorry. Tomorrow, not Saturday. Friday from 11 to 3.
That's when his event is. I thought you were talking about when the CCEs were going away.
Well, this is your last chance to get it before they go away, right?
No, you could come to Michigan. I have one. It's called Last Call, Last Time. That's at 10:30 in the evening.
Oh.
So you could make one more.
There you go.
Saturday.
Okay.
So, sorry, I was jumping topics around, which is, I know you guys generally do that quite frequently.
What? No, not here.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, and I know Wino Seattle is going to put on a great event because he told me he's got 2 bottles of Werner's left from a gift that he received from an anonymous person that you can only get in the Midwest. So.
Werner's ginger ale. Yes. You know, it was funny. I'm still not a big ginger ale fan, but Werner's, kind of a soft spot because that's what I had as a kid. And, out here you tend to get Canada Dry. Yeah.
So Wino Seattle event, which is a BC WSGA event, is on Friday.
Tomorrow. Well, maybe today for you.
It is actually today for me right now. Yes.
So thank you for staying up, by the way.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And this event right at the border is going to be a good opportunity to compare some of BC's best donuts with Seattle's best donuts. So, and coffee perhaps. So jump in there. Yeah. Oh, hey, look at this. Werner's is the stuff. And all Werner's is great. Well, that's Starcacher. Starcacher's in Ohio. He can get Werner's.
Oh, okay. He can get Werner's. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So go to Wino's. There you go. He's got 4 dozen Top Pot donuts coming. Those are good donuts. And then match it up with some Tim Hortons and compare and contrast. I want a written report when you're done, at least 500 words. Thank you, Winos. Now, Merlin, you've been on you've been on this podcast before, but perhaps somebody doesn't know you. Right? This is their first time listening to the podcast, and they go, who is this Merlin guy? Why is it past midnight where he is?
Well, I'm an East Coast cacher. I live in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. So I'm 2 hours away from that very special cache called GC612 or maybe Power Island. I started caching in 2006, and I have managed to accumulate, as of today, 15,400 smileys. So some would say I'm pretty good. Some would say I'm not. This past summer 2022 was a most excellent year. I got to meet a lot of people, and many of the people that I see in the chat room, from experiences in Tennessee and, Memphis was Tennessee too. Sorry, I was going somewhere else with that. And then I made it out to Washington and Abbotsford. And I'm really disappointed that the land monkey is not with us tonight.
Well, it was so good to see you on the West Coast. So thank you for your trip out. Still good memories, or have they kind of faded and you think, yeah, maybe I'll need to go to somewhere else next time?
No, it was an incredible trip, and I still look back on 2022 is my best caching year ever. I met so many new friends. I've got so many new activities in the hopper that no, I don't think I will forget 2022 for a very long time. Nice.
2022 was a fabulous year for caching for me as well. I didn't get to 15,000. I didn't get to 10,000. I haven't even gotten to 5,000. So, one day I'm going to catch you.
Okay. I'll let you. Maybe I'm retired now. So that's, you could have trouble with that.
Or maybe I'll have a chance. One of the two. I'm not sure yet.
Well, why don't we talk scuba caching though?
Okay, let's talk scuba caching now.
Get to the topic at hand.
Talk about caching with scuba equipment, I think we first have to talk about scuba diving, right? You
Okay.
can't just go rent the gear and jump in the water.
You cannot. That is true. The organizations that have that gear will not let you do it. And thinking about the topic tonight, this is probably one of maybe two significant tots that you need, or special tools, because this between this and climbing, um, very special gear, very specialized technique. You can kill yourself very quickly, or you can enjoy the heck out of it. So, I tend to enjoy the heck out of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we look at the world and the world of geocaching, and of course the globe is our playground, right? Well, 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water. So of all the geocaches that are placed on land, just think of how many that could be placed underwater.
I know.
Except that humans don't breathe very well underwater.
Oh, well, there's that.
Yeah. So you do need to be, before you can rent your gear, you do need to become a certified scuba diver. And many classes all over the world teach it. There are 3 components that you need. There's a classroom component, so you can learn about all of the scuba laws and what happens when you do what. And then there's what they call a confined water. So it's a pool where you know what's going to happen. You're not affected by environmentals. It's very safe. It's very friendly. So we go through several hours of training in a pool. And then to cap that off, you go out into the open water, usually a local lake. Some of the resorts will have a local reef area where, again, it's pretty safe. They know what dangers are there, and you can get your certification and go. So that's what it takes to become a certified scuba diver.
Mm-hmm.
It does, as part of that, the equipment that you need to get started is simply a mask, snorkel for it, and fins. So those are kind of the personal items. The rest of it can be rented. And usually the cost of your course, your training material, is where the cost of that rental gear for your certification class will be covered. So
now, Tim, is scuba certification standardized across the states? Is it different in Michigan than it is in Washington State?
No. By and large, there's one umbrella agency that has created the standards. There are several certifying agencies. I'm certified by a group called PADI, the Professional Association of Dive Instructors. There are a number of other agencies, and they emphasize some of the standards differently. So, your training could be different from an SSI training center, perhaps, or a TDI versus a PADI. It won't be significantly different, but your skills, may or may not, depending upon how much time you spend in the practice area.
Starcacher asks a great question. When you become certified, is there an expiration, or are you certified for life?
Your certification is for life. However, if you are out of the water for a particular period of time, it kind of depends on where you are, it's always best to try to take a refresher course, which really is you go to the pool and you practice the skills that you haven't used in quite a while. We're headed to another very nice, warm place that's out west, very far west, at the end of the month, of January month. And if you haven't been in the water in the last 3 years, they require you to either take a class here at home or when you get to the resort. So, and it's real quick. And in Michigan, we're out of the water 6 months of the year anyway, usually. And so we don't forget. We know how to do it.
Nice. Now, where are some of the places you have been diving? And if you could pick a favorite, what would that be?
Well, I've been diving quite a bit, and actually was able to combine two of my favorite activities, one being geocaching and two being scuba diving. I have been to Florida. I have been to the Cayman Islands. I've been to the Bahamas. I've been to Honduras, Roatan specifically. I've been to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, and I did that in 2021 with my daughter, and that was an amazing adventure. I've been to Missouri. There's an awesome dive location. I'm not going to say dive location in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
So you asked what my favorite place to dive is?
Do you have a favorite?
Where am I going next?
Somewhere warm, you said.
Somewhere warm, yes, that I've never dove before. So I've snorkeled out there, but no, the next dive is always the best dive. And because they're so different when you get into the underwater environment. In Ecuador, I've never seen so many sharks in my life, and they were 5-6 feet away from us. Turtles galore. It was awesome. Honduras, we were swimming with moray eel. So it's just a different. Bahamas was lots of turtles and eagle rays. So the sea life is very diverse depending on where you go, and it's all incredible.
Nice. Now I've been snorkeling in Mexico and Hawaii, right? And that's incredible, but that's not quite scuba diving.
No. And I have a really hard time snorkeling now because I want to be underwater. I want to be down with the fish. It's not the same.
Exactly. So you're scuba diving. Is there a difference between freshwater and saltwater when you're diving?
Yes. The saltwater really stings your eyes when you get it in your mask. And there's also a water density issue. So you tend to float more in saltwater than you do in freshwater.
Then you have to wear a weighted belt to help you, or
yes?
How do you compensate for that? That's what I see in the movies, right? When the good guy and the bad guy are battling underwater, somebody will pull their weight belt off and they pop right to the surface.
Correct.
Okay.
Really don't recommend that. Only in the movies where they
only in the movies.
The magic of the movies. But yeah, we have a belt, or we now have a device called a BCD, another acronym for a buoyancy compensating device. And that has pockets and specific places to put weight so that they can be removed quickly. Because in the event, one of the things that we do in the classes, that we teach you how to handle emergencies. We kind of figure that people know how to breathe, so we don't really teach that. And we assume that people know how to swim, so we don't teach you how to swim. So what we do need to do is to teach you what to do when something happens. And so,
while you're swimming and breathing, other things can happen that you need to think about.
Correct. And if you get to a point where you can't, you don't want to go down anymore, and you really need to get to the surface because maybe you're 80 feet underwater and you have, for whatever reason, run out of air, you kind of need to get to the surface as quickly as possible. And so it becomes an emergency at that point. Right. Do something safe or die. Okay, well, we'll pick the safe one.
Oh, good choice every time. Good choice. Now, how different is scuba caching from scuba diving?
Kind of similar to how does geocaching differ from hiking? Okay. When I go geocaching, I explain it to my family because they don't know why I do this so much. I like, geocaching is taking a hike with a purpose. So in the same way, scuba diving or dive caching is the same kind of thing. It's a scuba dive with a purpose. So one of the great adventures for 2022 was I met up with another podcasting host who I learned with a scuba diver, and we went to Bristol, Tennessee for the Deep Dam Cache. And it's a virtual cache placed in the Tennessee Valley Authority next to a dam. And the objective is to swim out, dive down, capture the information, and return. So that was a very fun event with Mr. Derek Baker, and we captured that on YouTube. I don't know if we can put that in the show notes, but we'll have to find it and see if we can do that.
Yeah, see if anybody in the research department can go find that link, and I'll post it up.
Perfect. So yeah, that was an awesome one. But when you're caching on a scuba dive, you want to pay a little bit more attention to the things that you don't pay attention to, which are your gauges. How much air do you have? You can get so focused on, I got to find the cache, that you might go deeper than you're certified for, or that is recreational allowed.
Okay.
You may be so focused on looking for the cache that you don't look at your gauge, and all of a sudden, again, you're 80 feet down and you have no air. That's kind of bad.
Well, yes, and that's I would put that's beyond kind of bad. That goes into the very bad territory. Yeah.
It could, but we could go into some of the theory that, when you're 80 feet underwater and there's a certain amount of pressure that's compressing air in your tank, which is already compressed, as you begin to go up, you get more air in your tank. So while you have no air at 80 feet, you might get a half a breath or so as you get up to 40 feet and another half that you're at the surface. I'm not going to test that theory, but I've come close once.
That's still in the very bad category. If you can't get a full breath, that's very bad. But you bring up a good point. If you're hiking in the woods and you're looking for a geocache, you can spend as much time as you need to out there, right? Correct. It can get dark. You need to get back to your car. There are other factors involved, but when you're diving, you have a very limited time.
Correct. And that time changes based on how deep you are.
You're right. Exactly. Do you do a lot of research pre-dive to make sure it's there and where it is, if there's any photos?
Yes. I do like to make sure that the cache has been found recently, or that I know what I'm looking for. Because one of the other challenges to dive caching is that GPS devices don't work underwater. So there's no reception. So usually the cache page is going to indicate, one of our adventures for this summer is to go to what's called the Fireboat Cache. And it's out of Saugatuck in Lake Michigan. And they tell you specifically, go to the bow, set your compass to this degree bearing, and swim for 50 feet. Because it's an underwater landmark, and so they can't place a cache on the boat, but it's nearby.
Okay. Somewhat like a waymark then.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it could be. Yeah, go to this, or a projection, if you will, from an unknown kind of thing. Even though it's a traditional cache, you are going for a waypoint for X number of feet at X number of degrees, and you'll find what you seek. So we've got that. Now, the one that I found in the Cayman Islands, it was about 65 feet in depth. And they gave you some information, but not enough. And luckily on that trip, I was with a dozen other people, and I was the only geocacher, but they all were interested that I was looking for this geocache. And so I started at the bow, and I'm working my way down, looking at all the portholes and whatnot. And then a friend of mine comes over, and he waves and gets my attention. Then he goes, the box, and points. And I was like, oh, we found it. And so we were able to find the cache on that ship. And so that was pretty good.
Nice. Now we have GSM times 2 that says going back to you have more air as you ascend. It says, I've tested that theory about ascending when out of air. It works, but it isn't recommended.
I would highly agree with that. Yep. I'm not exactly sure how Scott tested that. I'm going to have to ask him next time we get together. But I had my own little adventure here where I placed a cache in a lake and was 80 feet down. And my buddy, who was also an instructor at the time, we had our lift bag. We carried things out. And we set up our plan. On the surface, we talked about what we were going to do when we went down. We were going to meet on this platform, and then we were going to place the cache. So I went to the platform, and I'm waiting for him, and I see him about 20 feet to my left, and all of a sudden he bolts the other way and goes away from me, and I scratching my head, and I couldn't figure it out. And we do, again, teach you what happens if you get lost from your buddy, but I, of course, ignored that training and just stayed and waited. And I waited until I was kind of low on air. And I went up to the surface and I said, what were you doing? And he said, well, I had a free flow in my regulator, which means all the air was dumping out of his tank very quickly. And so I came to the surface. What were you doing? And I said, well, I was waiting for you to come down. And so we were about 300 feet from shore, and I really wanted to place this cache. I didn't want to swim all the way back out here. Well, I had 250 pounds of air in my tank, which normally starts at 3,000. So I was pretty low.
Okay.
I went down to 80 feet and noticed that my air now read 50 pounds of air. So I don't have a lot of air down there. So I placed the cache, and I'm at 25 pounds of air, and I began to come up from 80 feet and did watch I was able to breathe. I was able to watch my gauges come up. But the next morning, I had a lot of modeling on my shoulder, kind of like I had been to a shooting range all day, except that I shoot right-handed, not left-handed. And it didn't hurt. And I was like, what the heck did I do? And I was like, oh, yeah, I came from 80 feet to 0 feet in about a minute and a half, way too fast. And so it was called a skin decompression sickness, skin sickness.
Okay.
And so the capillaries in the skin had burst, and that causes the bruising, and could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't. So, yes, I tested that. Those things we do for geocaching.
Exactly. You had to do that, didn't you? Hey, when you're looking for a geocache underwater, does it? I would think in lakes more than seas, but I could be wrong. You're going to get algae growth on the geocache that's going to kind of blend it into the environment.
Absolutely.
Am I right about that? So,
oh yeah.
Other than it's square, and square things typically don't occur in nature, is it difficult to find?
The ones that I have found, no, because again, yes, you are looking for an ammo can. An ammo can has very straight lines. And one of them that I found in the Cayman Islands was just that. It had a lot of coral on top of it, a lot of growth. But I could tell instantly it was an ammo can.
Okay.
And then you can find the latch and open it up. The ones that I have placed in the lake, when I go do maintenance on them, what I've done is I attach a cinder block to the cache, and the cache is a round plastic peanut jar kind of thing. And they're meant to be left underwater. Some scuba caches aren't. You go down, get them, you bring them up to the surface where they stay dry, and then you take them back down. Well, mine, you stay down and you sign them when you're underwater. But because I'm putting them in where there might be seaweed and growth and things like that, what I'll also do is attach like 6 inches of a small Gatorade bottle. So the Gatorade bottle will float up and try to provide some clue that there's something there that needs to be investigated.
Okay. A couple of things from GSM times 2. He says, fortunately, it was on your shoulder and not your lungs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. over expansion of the lungs hurts,
Yes.
and it can be deadly. And yes, I was exhaling the whole way up, so that would not happen.
He says he was diving for abalone at 80 feet, got the abalone and sucked hard on my regulator. Oops.
Yep.
What? Tell us a little more of what does that mean? You know,
the
sucked hard regulate. Yeah.
Well, when you suck hard on your regulator, typically it means that you're not getting what you're expecting, which is air. And so when he made that suck to get air, usually it's very, very easy to breathe in and out. There's no effort really required,
Mm-hmm.
but you tend to exert more effort when you don't get anything, because you think if you suck harder, you'll get something,
right,
even though there's nothing to get you. And more scuba deaths occur in Florida in the last 2 days of July than any other time of year. It is lobster hunting season.
The last 2 days of it?
Last 2 days. And people go out and either suffer heart attacks because they're out of shape, or they get so focused on the bug that they forget how much air they have. Mm-hmm. And again, that's really the principle. And I'm sure Scott was looking for that abalone, and they're very tasty, and you can forget, oh yeah, I got to look. I've been underwater X amount of time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And time can go by quickly. The same thing happens when I'm walking a trail looking for a geocache. Like, have I been out here for 30 minutes already? What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
But like you said, when you run out of air underwater, it's not like, I got to work my way back to the car, or,
right,
get the flashlight out or something like that. So it really can be different.
Okay.
Scott's got lots of questions tonight.
He's got lots of questions, and good ones, because I was going to ask this one. Now, you mentioned that when you've been scuba caching, there have been a couple of different types of geocaches underwater.
Correct.
So he wants to know, how do you sign the log underwater? Now, the one you mentioned, you said it's not designed to be signed underwater.
Well, right? Some of them are not.
Right. The one you found, the one you had mentioned, you said was designed not to be.
Okay. That was in a lake here in Michigan. And this particular one was a small bottle within a bottle attached to a brick, a small brick. And so we were in about 4 feet of water. So it wasn't real deep.
A true scuba cache.
Not really, but it was a whole lot easier to wear it and look around the bottom than it was otherwise. So we brought that one up. And then one of the other ones we found was about 12 feet, and it had a pole in the bottom with a clip on it, and it was clipped to that. And then we brought it up. It was a paper log inside. And so we signed it and then put it all back together and took it back down. But mine, I have a diver's slate and a grease pencil. And so you can just sign it. Now, the Cayman Island one, the ammo can that I mentioned, it was a Write in the Rain logbook. It was waterproof paper. And so there were pencil in the cache, and I just signed it with a pencil. So each cache is different for how you sign it, or what the cache owner requires of the pieces.
And you know that ahead of time, don't you?
Yes.
By reading the log.
By reading the log page. Yes. Read the page. Read the cache page.
Cache description.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. There was a virtual
underwater or not.
Yeah. The virtual cache I did in Roatan was a marker buoy that had been pulled down underwater, and as it got algae growth on it, you just sign your name in the algae and take a picture.
That's fun.
So that's how you get the virtual there.
Brian Link says, wait, people read cache descriptions? No, not always.
No. Yeah, most people do not read cache descriptions. Scuba divers always read cache descriptions, because too many bad things can happen.
Exactly. Let's see. GSM times 2 says exhaling all the way up and hoping There's another breath in the tank when I run out of air in my lungs. Yeah.
Correct.
That was the oops.
Emergency situation only.
Yep.
Please do not do this at home.
Well, and that is why you need to take the classes, right? To know what you need to do in those situations, because, I would try to panic and suck harder and, paddle my feet for all I'm worth and get up as quickly as I can.
Right. And in class, we teach you typically, not always, but typically you will dive with a buddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, let's assume for a moment that you're 40 feet underwater and out of air and your buddy is 10 feet away. Well, I can swim to my buddy and breathe with him, and we can both go to the surface and not have to do anything extraordinary.
Right.
So then that other way is, take your last breath and shoot for the surface and hope for the best. That's if you're on your own. And again,
I've seen it in the movies.
Yeah, that is where, you ditch the weight belt because you don't want anything holding you down, and get up to the surface as fast as possible.
Nice. Star Cacher wants to know, can there be an audible alarm when you're about to run out of air?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have gauges that monitor it, and you periodically throughout the drive are supposed to look at those. And typically when you're diving with an organized group, the instructors on the boat will tell you, we want you back on the boat with X amount of air in your tank. So be watching.
Whoa. Okay.
And so now I've never found out what they do if you don't hit that mark. And I'm typically, when I go on those charters, I'm the first one in the water and the last one on the boat. And my pressure gauge always says exactly what I'm supposed to have when I come out of the boat. Like nice. We all drive 55, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, there is no audible signal. There used to be a different kind of tank valve. When I first started scuba diving and I bought my first scuba tank, the dive shop recommended a K style valve as the best one. And it has a pull rod attached to the valve.
Okay.
And supposedly, as you get to about 250, 300 pounds of air, it becomes harder to breathe. And you pull the lever, and now you know that you're almost out of air. And I was told that was the best valve to get because it was so safe. And then a few years ago, I bought my second tank, and the dive shop said, oh, no, the K valves, the K stands for killer. And the J valve is the best one. And I said, well, why is that? And they said, well, because people thought it would be funny to start the dive by pulling the rod down. And so you never got that. And so it was a false sense of security that you might have a breath or two of air left. So wow. Now they just say, use the J valve. When you're out of air, you're screwed.
Okay. Let's not get there. Let's not get there.
No. We want everybody home safely.
Yeah. So, for the longest time, the nearest unfound cache to me was a scuba cache out in the water. I think it was only about 20 feet deep. I was like, this just annoys me. I finally put it on my ignore list. The only cache I've ever put on my ignore list. But I got to the point of like, I'm a pretty good swimmer. I might be able to dive down and get that. But
you probably could, and it kind of depends. I have one that's 15 feet underwater. Mm-hmm. That is swimmable. Mm-hmm. But the log is intended to be signed underwater. So now you have to take your breath, you have to find it, you have to sign it, and then you have to make it back to surface. Again, It's all very possible, but not recommended.
Yeah, exactly. So I just finally put it on my ignore list and walked away.
And my daughter was planning to come out to Washington to visit a friend of hers for this summer. And we had planned to go diving. And then money happened and time happened and she couldn't make the trip. So unfortunately, I didn't do any diving. I did mostly caching while I was out in the West, but
well, and
someday.
I completely agree with Brylang is that the Puget Sound is not very warm. It's usually about 55 degrees year round.
Okay.
So it's a little chilly. Even on the hot days, you know, when it's 100 here, we go, let's go to the ocean and cool off. It's still almost too cold to get in.
Right.
Like, whew. Yeah, you get cooled off and nothing flat.
Well, and that's the cache that I have in the lake at 80 feet down. It's a spring-fed lake. So year round, the temperature is about 42 to 45 degrees.
Okay.
So in the same way, yes, we have wetsuits to compensate for that, or dry suits.
Yep. Dry suits. Yep.
Dry suit. Yep.
Okay. One more question I have.
All right.
If somebody wants to do a dive cache, and while they're on vacation, let's say they're going to one of these nice warm places and there's a dive cache nearby, would they have time during their vacation to take those lessons and get certified? Or is that something they should plan ahead and do it at home before they leave?
It's always better to plan ahead and be prepared when you go. There is a quick course. They call it sometimes a resort course, where they can teach you how to scuba dive, and they will let you dive, but usually it's on their terms at their reef, and the odds of having a geocache there are pretty small.
Sure.
So yeah, you probably won't do that. It's something you'll need to prepare ahead of time, and it doesn't take long to get certified, depending on where you do it and where you live. Obviously, here in Michigan, we don't do a lot of certifications through the winter.
Sure.
Ice diving is a specialty course, but I'm not a fan of it, and we don't take beginners on ice dives. So usually we'll do coursework 3 days, and then 2 weekends, and sometimes it's a Saturday, Sunday. But we have to do 4 open water dives to complete the certification. So it can be done in a week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
Before you go, but you have to plan ahead.
Right. And hopefully plan during warm weather, because otherwise it's a little miserable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, you know, even if you're here in the Puget Sound area, you're going to do your open dive more than likely eventually once in the ocean where it's quite chilly.
Sure.
So
my son became certified, and his open water dives were in November, which the water in Michigan in November is actually quite warm. But it was snowing when we got out of the water, and so we couldn't warm up again. So that that was a little bit, he didn't enjoy that much.
Right.
So,
but he got certified nonetheless, right?
He did get certified, but he dove in St. Lucia, and he dove in the Bahamas, and he's diving in Hawaii when we come. He doesn't dive anywhere else.
Yeah, that's where it's nice and warm, and it's far more enjoyable.
Agreed.
Well, you know, I don't know if a dive in Hawaii is more enjoyable than the conversation I've had with you this evening. I don't know. I think this might be better.
Well, possibly. I've really enjoyed myself. So
you know what I didn't show? I didn't show a picture of you.
Oh,
there's a picture of you diving. Where is this?
Okay, this one is actually in Ecuador. And what I'm holding up is a piece of plastic that I found for my GC8 neat, my locationless cache. So, you know, I was picking up trash. There was not a lot of trash. The Galapagos was actually very well maintained. But I found this, whatever it was, it's about the size of like a credit card kind of thing. And it was completely clear, but it had some growth on it, as you can see. And I picked it up, and my daughter took a picture of me so I could submit it on the cache page.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That's worthwhile for the GC8 neat locationless cache. GSM times 2 says, put in the hours. You wouldn't want to drive with only 2 hours of classroom and behind the wheel training. How very true.
Right.
Very true. So Put in the hours if you're going to learn to scuba. It's been on my bucket list for quite some time, and I haven't done it. So
yeah, learning is fun, and depending on where you go, like I said, it's really cool, and the world on top, terra firma, is amazing, and we see some of the beautiful things, but the world underneath, which is even more special because maybe 10% of the world's population dives. So I'm seeing things that, most people never see.
Exactly. And for me, the limited time you can stay under there makes it more special, right? Because you can't just, I'm going to go spend an hour or 2 hours and just soak this beauty in. You can't, you're limited in your time. So,
right.
And as you see, the deeper you go, the shorter time you have.
Yep. So yeah, one of the first questions people ask me is, so how deep did you go? And I'm like, it's not about deep. I've been 130 feet underwater, and the color is not as good. The things are very muted, and things are dark. My best dives have been in the 20 to 40 feet depth. And at 40 feet, I can be underwater for over an hour.
Okay.
And so, I've become that relaxed, and my breathing is that controlled that I can make a tank last that long. And that's on a regular size tank. I could get a bigger tank and make it go longer, but I don't need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For GSM times 2, he says the feeling of being weightless underwater is why I enjoyed it so much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep, you strap 50 pounds to your body and you jump in the water, and all of a sudden it's like nothing.
Amazing. Well, Merlin1392, thank you for coming on to talk about scuba caching. This is fabulous. It's something I've wanted to do. So at least for this last hour, I've been able to live vicariously through you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a pleasure to, well, I guess I'm not going to say it's a pleasure to stay up late, but I got to get practice for Saturday night because, again, I have an event that runs over midnight. So
right.
It's practice for that.
Exactly. So, I appreciate you staying up late. It's approaching 1 o'clock there for you. So, again, I wouldn't ask you if it wasn't near New Year's time where, you're probably going to stay up late anyway. So.
Oh, no, Chris, you can invite me anytime. I love talking with you.
Well, in that case. Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for taking the time. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Now, we do want to take a moment to thank Landsharks and Gold Country Geotourism. Those are our 2 Denali level corporate sponsors. Landsharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. They ship orders daily. I mean, it's amazing. And for absolutely, well, here I'm going to use this word again, amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com. And we also want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That is Landsharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cachly, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click the Patreon link on that cachingnw.com webpage, like Sprouter did. Here, I'm going to have to do this all on my own. I don't think I can do it in one.
I can help you.
Would you like to help?
I'd be happy to.
Well, I'll take Sprouter. You take the even numbered ones then.
Okay, the like M Nerve.
Yeah, and UDAC.
Gas Station Tuna. I got to meet him in Washington. He's an amazing fellow.
Isn't he though?
I don't know about eating food like that, but
we say it's a terrible lunch, great cacher.
Okay.
Flagman.
Are not family.
How about GSM times 2, who was so helpful in the chat?
True. And Keats 94. Keats was amazing in Abbotsford. I had a good time with Keats.
Yep. Ackerdoc.
Kid Vegas 19.
Wet Coaster.
Kev McD.
Yeah. Subway Mark.
CRS 98.
Trek Zer.
Seebeck Tribe. And I saw her in the chat too.
Yeah, she's in the chat. And you talks to Rock, so I still feel guilty over. Because she went and found my cache near the shore and got splashed by a wave from head to toe.
Uh-oh. Well, one of the dangers of caching. At least you didn't have to worry about underwater breathing.
That's true.
How about Fairwood West?
Oh. How about log work?
Or Donners?
You have to stare into the camera when you say Donners.
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 Skyhawker.
B Pendragon?
Yep. GeoNav Pro.
I know Limax.
Antaeus.
Kennel Barb?
Alarobrick.
Ah, another good friend of mine, the LG 9000.
Yes, our favorite kitchen appliance. Greenwords.
Oh, I get to do this one. Boomer 365.
It is a pleasure, isn't it? It's a lot of fun to say. Peach of Washington.
Just finding our way.
Camp Clan.
Dora Moore.
Tick Magnet.
All right. This even has words with it. Segehove.
Segehove.
Segehove. Okay. Sorry.
Se is C, Ge is G, and then Hove.
Okay. I'm sorry, I messed his name up.
I forgot the nationality for the moment. It'll come to me in a moment.
Okay.
What about Korsgaard?
He's from Norway.
Norway, yeah.
Yes, I sent him a Christmas mission this year.
Oh, nice.
And MC3 Cats. He's the president of WSGA.
He is. J-Car.
Ari 54321.
Kitty Quest.
Genice.
Team Noltex.
And one of my best friends in geocaching, Geocaches.
It's a great name, isn't it? Geocaches.
She's an amazing young woman, and I loved her geo tour.
Yep. Lots of fun. Well, thank you so much. Now, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, perhaps to ask a scuba caching question, or just because you're so interesting, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way is probably through messaging in the geocaching app, just Merlin1392. I don't do a lot of other social media because I'm usually out busy caching too much. So send me a message and I'll make the connection fairly quickly.
Nice. And folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps the quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about. In either case, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Subscribe and give us a review. Now, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fabulous, fast, fantastic 5-star review. You can also call in 253-693-TFTC and ask a comment. Leave us a comment, ask a question, or help us with our scuba tank any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2022 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
The After Show. Well, let's see if we have anything for the After Show.
I thought I saw a couple things go through.
I did too. Here we go. GSM Time Stu says the locationless cache let us improve the outdoors. That's GC8 Neat. And Find Signal the Frog, or GC8 Frog, will be archived and locked January 1st, 2023. So log it or lose it.
Yeah, I think that locked piece is the most important piece that people kind of forget. They're like, oh, once it gets archived, I can put it on.
I can still go. Yeah.
Yeah. But the answer is no, that's not going to happen. But there's still one locationless out for that. I don't remember, GC9 View, something like that. There's a third locationless came out.
Yes.
It's good this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the research department would help us out with that.
Oh, here it is.
There we go. Yep. GC9.
Sorry there, Brian Lang. I just popped on another one that GSM times 2 put up. It's same idea. You still have a year to log discovered while geocaching GC9 Fave, FAVE, and it'll be archived and locked January 1st, 2024. So that's a whole year away.
All right. Now, if I were going to do that again, I would probably, when I came back from Ecuador, there was not a dive cache there, but there is now. And so I would use the Earth cache that is placed near Darwin's, what used to be Darwin's Tower, or Darwin's Arch, which is now Darwin's Tower because it broke and fell down. But there's an Earth cache there, and it is a fabulous place to visit and view, and yeah, that would be my fave.
Love it. Starcacher says, maybe someday I'll look into scuba. There's a scuba cache in an area quarry that requires scuba diving that I have on my ignore list. Not related, but I do love the scuba style. Bison tubes.
You said he's in the Ohio area.
He's in Ohio. Now, I grew up on a pond, but where all the cool kids went swimming was in a quarry, and it was hundreds of feet deep, right?
Yeah.
So, they're deep, in essence, bottomless, right? Because you'll never get to the bottom with that.
Yeah, 125 feet for a place called Gilboa Quarry in Ohio, but they don't have any caches placed there. I have 3 caches placed in Illinois at the Hague Quarry.
Okay.
So, yeah, I really do love scuba style bison tubes. Yeah, no, they're not bison tubes.
They're not?
No.
Just because they have a flat bottom?
Right. Nope.
Okay. Hey, we do have some podcast baking. Monkey Cakes is making bacon and maple bacon pancake bake for the National Bacon CCE celebration event.
Bacon.
Oh, when is this? I need to go.
Yeah. I'll come out anywhere for bacon.
Okay.
But tomorrow is today is the MyGo Holiday 2022 contest, and today's day is called Bacon, and you're supposed to find a cache in view of a restaurant. So, I think I have an event at a restaurant that should work. I hope.
Podcast drinking. How come I can't show it? There it goes. Podcast drinking from Seaback Tribe says making badges for the WSGA may drive me to actually drink something harder than Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper and vodka?
Well, thank you, Seaback Tribe, for all those. We may have lost Merlin.
No, I'm still here.
Well, we may have lost me.
We may have lost you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, you're back. I was just
I never left.
Oh, maybe I did.
Maybe you always stayed there for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought everything had paused for me, so I was going to end the show without going on too far.
Okay, well, we can do that.
We could do that. We'll let you go to bed.
All right. I appreciate that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.